And we're live. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a couple days. Um, First things first, I want to thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. Make sure you guys go watch my videos. Recently, I posted for Avengers, and which is relevant because we're only 7 away from Doomsday, which is insane. So, make sure you guys go watch that and catch up on those movies before it's time again for another Avengers film. Today, we have a special guest on the channel. Say hello, special guest.
Hello.
She's back by popular demand, mostly because I can't get any other collaborators. Kevin? Anyways, so today I want to reflect on Micheal, the Michael Jackson film. I saw it last night. It's been out for a couple weeks now, and it's doing really well in the box office. In fact, it's number one, and it continues to rise despite the fact that it only has 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, and critically, it is just not doing well. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything because, as much as I hate to say it, critics don't always know everything. And I predict that this one will go very, very far. Micheal is an early breakout this year. Oftentimes, musical biopics like this follow the same beats from start to finish. But when I heard that Mr. Anton Fuqua was going to be at the helm for this one, I remembered watching Bohemian Rhapsody. Same guy, and I loved Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was an amazing film. Rami Malek was in that one, along with Mike Myers. And a couple of other actors were in that one as well. But this one, for me, I had high hopes for. It's hard to find one that stands out among the blander copy and paste highlight reel biography films in this same musical genre. Usually they're all pretty much, start to finish the same thing. But this one's bold because it just doesn't give you the highlight reels and the best moments. It starts out at the beginning of his life and kind of leaves things on a cliffhanger. As you all may not know or not know, this is a part one of two film already in the works. And I imagine they'll address some of the other stuff in his later life in part two. But the reason I have my wife in today on this video is because I wanted to talk about how this film impacts, impacts people in a more general way, because I can never really turn off my brain when watching a movie like this. I went into this movie, knowing very little about Micheal as a person, and as a musician, I knew, all the beats that he went through, and the different surgical problems that he had, but I didn't know a lot of the deeper stuff that happened behind the curtain, like his issues with his father and things like that. Didn't really grow up in that era, so my mom did, and she was really psyched about this film. But now I'm going to pass the mic to somebody who might have some more general audience type thoughts, and then we'll get into the weeds of this film. So go ahead. What are your thoughts on Micheal?
I think it was a great film. I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody, but I thought Micheal was one of the best musician biography movies that they've done so far. It's one of those heartwarming shows where you grow up with Micheal throughout the show. They show him as a little boy with his brothers and just growing up in his household with his family. And it really impacts you because you see the way how he was raised, how it impacts him throughout his life. And it was a meaningful movie where there was points where the mother was very inspiring to Micheal, and gave him a lot of confidence. And it was a lot about Micheal finding freedom and making his own decisions becoming a young adult. And so I just found it very inspiring as myself as a young adult. And maybe if you're older, it'll remind you of when you were younger, but also feel sympathy for Micheal as well.
Those are great thoughts. I don't disagree. Uh, like she talked about a little bit, this film chooses to focus on Micheal, the person, his family dynamics, and his relationships during the early years of his career, starting with the Jackson Five, and then ultimately he becomes a dynamo in the pop um, era that was soon to come during the early years of his career as he becomes the king of pop. We could talk about some of the casting. Jafar Jackson and Coleman Domingo, along with Nia Long, are standouts in this film. Every moment spent with these three characters feels awards worthy. Their performances strike um, a balance act between father and son, as well as artist and industry, which I thought was maybe a layer that most normal people wouldn't catch. But not only did this relationship represent father and son, obviously, but also you could see a lot of artists and industry represented by Micheal as an artist wanting freedom to do what he wants, and the industry being his father, tying him down to the expectations of career and just contracts and things like this that we hear people talk about all the time. And that's why independence and um, finding your own voice in music is so important. Um, which is interesting because I feel like this film does a really good job of kind of showing that, big moment when Micheal finally does go independent from the Jackson Five. And in the face of his own father, Joseph Jackson, the the tyrant, if you want to put it that way, kind of, shuts that door ultimately. And one thing that I thought was really interesting, Nia Long plays his mother. She does an amazing, amazing job. To nobody's surprise, Nia Long is great. I love Nia. She's a great actress. But she has this moment where she's talking with Joseph, and she says, we wouldn't have, this house and all these amenities if it wasn't for Micheal, because ultimately Micheal was always going to be bigger than Tito and uh, his other brothers. And I mean, I know Tito would go on to be really close to his brother, but ultimately these moments were the moments that defined him as a person. I feel like maybe they'll discuss a little bit more in the sequel how it affected his brothers. I kind of wanted more of that. As well as his own artistry, I kind of wanted to hear his brothers talk more about, and have more moments of getting to feel things about him splitting from the group, because they seem very okay with it in this half of the film. And maybe that's true. Maybe they were just okay with it. As a human, it doesn't seem very human to not have any feelings about it. But ultimately, I can see both sides of the coin there. But I will say that's where this film kind of loses it for me, is I feel like you spend a lot of time ultimately building your relationship with Mike, because the second half is going to be brutal, because they're going to start focusing on some of the harder years after fame and, leading up to his death ultimately in Michael's life. And I'm glad they didn't rush this one, because they definitely could have chosen to just rush it. And, I feel like this director especially does a great job of hitting those moments that were great in their life, but also highlighting the kind of behind the scenes, really dark moments. And so, that being said, I wanted to ask my general audience member, represented here by my wife, I wanted to ask, I think they hit a lot of the good character moments, but maybe it was just me, but I feel like they could have done more with the actual Jackson 5 dynamic, because once they broke up, you kind of just felt like nothing happened and they're all okay with it. But what is your opinion on that as a concept and as a moment?
Yeah, so one thing I think of is that, yeah, when I agree with Jaden, when you watch Michael and you see the moment that Michael stands up for himself and he basically says, I'm not going to do the Jackson 5 anymore to everybody. That I think, honestly, that his brothers were expecting it. And so I could see both ways. And also I could see it both ways because the brothers were seeing that Michael was becoming a good solo artist. And anyways, and I won't spoil the show or anything. And if you don't know Michael, then you'll love watching the show. And if you love him, you will too. But anyways, I think that I know Michael's father and their family were the producers, right, of this film. I think that they wanted to mostly focus on Michael as a loving memory and to show the world his true character. So I could see it both ways, as maybe the brothers were okay with it, you know? Maybe they did see it coming and they weren't surprised. Or maybe the family just wants to show more so the story of Michael than the Jackson 5 in this film.
Yeah, see, and I mean, and I think I'm allowed to. I mean, I'm okay with the fact that they didn't. But it's one of the things they spend a lot of time in the film talking about, because of the fact that a lot of the Jacksons came back and helped produce this film, along with his actual live nephew Jafar playing the role of Michael. Which let's just talk about the persona, because it's almost one to one. Like, I mean, besides the fact that obviously that's not Michael, it's a one to one representation of the person. I think there's interesting beats that they could have hit with the Jackson 5. And I know the feelings maybe were that even they knew as brothers that Michael was always going to be massive and become something more than they could ever be as a group. And I know that he supported them throughout his whole life after the split up. But, ultimately, I just feel like there's got to be more depth there. And that's kind of what I go into a film looking for, is even with Miles Teller, who plays his manager in this film, who also managed the Beach Boys and people like that. There's moments where you can tell there's a real love and relationship there, between Michael and his manager and even his own personal bodyguard, that I'm forgetting the name of now. But you have those moments where you can really see the person, and I just feel like they all need more in the sequel. Maybe this is a good way to put it. They need more time in the sequel to explore the depth of these characters. And I think it's good to start this way. This is a great start. This is definitely something that I feel like this film lives up to its own hype. I can't wait to see the team bring in the awaited continuation. But ultimately, I just feel like they better do something weighty and meaningful with the sequel, because this is great, and this is great frosting to a cake. But I feel like you really need to bring home a heavy continuation, because of the fact that what his lineage and character meant after Michael became Michael Jackson. And that's kind of what I went into it thinking, and I came out of the theater thinking I'm not disappointed. I don't understand the hate or the maybe the failed box office or critical success that this one's seeing. Ultimately, I don't feel like it's I feel like it's a little overhated for what it is, and obviously in the continuation, I think you just have to wait, like I am, to see what they're going to do with it. But I think to meet people's expectations, you have to bring it home on the tracks of let's talk about the darker stuff, because there were dark moments in this movie, and there were definitely moments that were weighty, and you felt for Michael, and you understood why he even wanted to change everything about himself to disappear from the meaning of what it meant to be a Jackson at that time. But, and that's important to the story, but overall, from a film perspective and from a script perspective, I want to see in the sequel is more of the dark and weighty side of the character, because we get what he is and how precious and important he was to even the kids that he was around and the people that he impacted. Now I want to know what happened behind the curtain. And that's what made the film Bohemian Rhapsody ultimately an amazing film that went to the Oscars, was because you got to see life through Freddie's eyes outside of Queen and outside of Freddie Mercury. You got to see what life was really like as a person, that he was at that time, and what it meant to live during that time. And I think that's what I really want from this director, and I know he can do it. So just do it. But it's a definitely, I agree that maybe it is just surface, but I feel like there's a lot that speaks volumes and could be said in a sequel. Anyway, I want to move on because I want to end this video before it gets too long. I could go on that track forever, but it is that time again. Last thing I wanted to say before I move into my Oscar predictions for this one, because I do feel like this one is going to be an award season's bait, just because there's too many great elements for it to miss the award seasons this year. I wanted to talk about my Oscar predictions early for this one as well. I do think Jaafar Jackson could be up for Best Male Lead, just because, like I said, he is basically a one-to-one copy and paste like Michael Jackson remake, and I think that was amazingly well done in casting, and the fact that he's fairly new, in the film, and this was his first time on screen. He does an amazing job. I think Best Supporting Actor should go to Coleman Domingo for playing Joseph Jackson, a frightening person. That he gives us a world-breaking role, characterization of the father, and not only the father, but early management and just the expectations. I think he did an amazing job. You always felt with Michael during the moments that, what is Joseph going to react to this, right? So, I think film score should go to this one. The scoring was amazing. The musical moments were cool. The needle drops, the behind the scenes in the studio was really cool. Seeing all that was amazing. I think this one should get original screenplay. Again, even though it's only part one, I feel like as a part one, it had some really cool moments and some really interesting beats. And amazing writing and amazingly well written relationships between Jaafar and Coleman Domingo, and Jaafar and what would be his brothers and mom. I feel like all those roles were really well written. Maybe not, there wasn't a bunch of depth there, but still what we got was very weighty and very heartfelt. And ultimately, I think this one should win for sound design. Some of the moments in this movie were just breathtaking, along with his first big concert. I mean, even though it's just a moment that you get to experience it at the beginning and end, his first stadium concerts with the Jackson 5 and as Michael Jackson were amazing. Very well designed, very well done, very convincing. And so I could see that this one winning either one of, if not all those, predictions at the Academy Awards. I don't know if this one will get Best Picture just because it's got really stiff competition in Project Hail Mary already. And we still have a Nolan and a Quentin Tarantino film to come out yet this year. I just personally feel like you can't ever hope to win if there's a Nolan film in theaters. And you and I both know that. Christopher Nolan does not miss. Right?
Yeah.
She doesn't disagree. Oh, it's unfortunate because this one could win Best Picture, and it should, and it still might. Anyway, I don't have any other thoughts on Micheal. Just go and see it. Really good. It's infectious. The music sticks with you. Very well done. I have in my notes here, so you'd better beat it to the theater and see Micheal. This one is definitely worth seeing on the big screen. It's built like a concert, and you feel like you're actually there with the thousands of fans. And, I went with two people. I went with my parents to go see this film, and they both grew up during that time. And my mom was a huge Micheal fan. Shout out my mom and dad. And just experiencing it through the eyes of people who were fans at the time of Micheal was amazing. And I also want to give a shout out to Mike Myers, the actor. He plays again another CBS Records exec in this movie. He also played a Records exec in Bohemian Rhapsody. He always gets stuck with that role. I don't know why, but he does an amazing job with it. The man can do Shrek, and he can do a war general, and he can do a studio executive, but that's about it. I'm just kidding. I tease. But those are my final thoughts on Micheal. Anything you want to say before we cut this off, representative of the audience?
Yeah, just go see the show, and it's really like seeing the life of Micheal, but also jamming to his music so you can get some moves in too.
Nice. Very good. All right, that's going to be it for today. Make sure you guys go binge my channel, watch the movies. Of course, this month coming up, we have Devil Wears Prada along with The Backrooms. I'm very excited about that. Mortal Kombat is coming out, Mortal Kombat 2. I'm planning on seeing all three of those at some point, and so those videos will come out when they come out. And I think other than that, that should about end this video. Oh, I should address it. I did not do Throwback Thursday with Chester. We had a really tough week, both me and Chester, and so we both need a mental health day that day, but things should return to normal as of next week. I make no promises. But other than that, like, subscribe, get my viewership up. Remember, June 1st is the deadline for the 100 subscriber march. Get me 100 subs if you want to watch me just destroy some hot wings. And other than that, if I don't see you for any reason in the next millennium, at least you know I will see you at the movies. All right, peace.